The night before my college graduation, I sat alone in my room, smoothing out my cap and gown with a mix of pride and nervous anticipation. 4 years of late-night study sessions, endless assignments, and pushing past self-doubt had led to this moment, a chance to walk across that stage in front of hundreds and prove I was more than the failure my parents always labeled me. Growing up, their words cut deep, constantly reminding me I'd never amount to anything. Yet here I was, ready to claim my degree, my heart racing with hope that maybe, just maybe, they'd see me differently tomorrow. Then, the door swung open. My mom stood there, her eyes cold, clutching a pair of clippers that buzzed with menace. A chill ran through me as her lips curled into a smirk, and I knew this night, meant for dreams, was about to become a nightmare. As I sat in my room, still clutching the graduation gown I'd worked so hard to earn, the door burst open without a knock. My mom stood in the doorway, her eyes glinting with a cruel amusement I'd seen too many times before. In her hand, she held a pair of electric clippers, their low hum cutting through the silence like a warning. My stomach dropped, a cold dread washing over me. "Still pretending you're somebody?" she sneered, her voice dripping with mockery. "Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll make sure everyone at your big day sees you for what you really are." Before I could process her words, my dad appeared behind her, his phone already out, a grin spreading across his face like this was some twisted family game night. "Do it," he chuckled, his voice thick with glee. "Let's see if baldness makes her future look any less pathetic." I froze in my chair, my hands gripping the arms until my knuckles turned white. "Mom, please," I begged, my voice trembling. "Not tonight, not before graduation." But her hand clamped down on my shoulder, her nails digging into my skin like claws. "Exactly why tonight," she said coldly. "You don't get to stand up there acting like you're something special. You're ours, and we decide how the world sees you." The clippers roared to life, and before I could move, she pressed them against my scalp. The buzzing filled my ears, drowning out my protests as strands of my hair fell like leaves, sliding down my gown and pooling on the floor. Hot tears blurred my vision, each swipe of the clippers stripping away not just my hair but pieces of who I was, my confidence, my pride, the identity I'd fought so hard to build over 4 grueling years of college. I begged her to stop, my voice cracking as I screamed, but it only fueled their cruelty. My dad laughed louder, his phone flashing as he snapped photo after photo, capturing every moment of my humiliation. "This is gold," he snorted, his voice booming with delight. "Wait till the family group chat sees this. Best joke yet." Each pass of the clippers felt like a knife carving away at my soul, ripping apart the girl who had dared to dream of a future beyond their ridicule. When the buzzing finally stopped, I was trembling, my scalp raw and exposed, my hair scattered across the floor like the remnants of a life I'd tried to claim. I couldn't look in the mirror. I didn't need to. The weight of their laughter told me everything. My mom grabbed my chin, forcing me to meet her gaze. The clippers still hummed faintly in her hand as she tilted my head up. "Look at you," she spat, her lips curling into a venomous smile. "Bald like your future. Now when you walk across that stage tomorrow, everyone will see the truth." Failure, plain as day. My dad crouched beside me, shoving his phone in my face for one final photo, the flash searing into my tear-streaked eyes. "Perfect," he said, his voice dripping with satisfaction. "They'll clap for your degree, but they'll laugh at your head. Finally, you're good for something comic relief." I sat there, broken, my scalp stinging, my heart shattered, as they walked away, their laughter echoing like a curse. That night, I lay in bed, unable to sleep, the damp pillow soaking up my tears. But in the darkness, a spark of defiance flickered. They thought they destroyed me, but this wasn't the end, it was the beginning of my fight back. The morning of my college graduation felt like stepping into a storm I couldn't escape. My fingers brushed against my bare scalp, still raw from the night before, each touch a reminder of the humiliation my parents had inflicted. The cap and gown I'd once seen as symbols of triumph now felt like props in their cruel theater. As I stood in front of the mirror, my reflection looked foreign, pale, vulnerable, stripped of the confidence I'd built over years of hard work. Downstairs, I could hear my dad's voice, loud and taunting, joking about how I was probably trying to glue my hair back on. My mom's colder, sharper reply cut through the air. Let her. The world needs to see her for what she is, nothing. Their words stung, but I swallowed the pain, promising myself I'd make it through the day, step onto that stage, and claim my degree, no matter what. The ceremony, the weight of every stare hit me like a tidal wave. My mortarboard cap wobbled awkwardly on my bald head, impossible to hide, drawing whispers from every corner of the auditorium. Did she shave it on purpose? Someone murmured. Looks like a bad joke, another voice hissed. My sister, always the golden child, glided past me in her own pristine gown, her smirk sharp as a blade. Careful not to blind the audience when the lights hit your shiny head, she whispered, her friends giggling as they followed her to their seats. I tried to focus on the stage, the rows of chairs, the banner proclaiming congratulations, graduates, but the world seemed to shrink with every step, the air thick with judgment. My parents didn't sit quietly in the crowd like other families. They reveled in the attention, thriving on my discomfort. I caught my dad raising his phone, zooming in to capture every moment of my shame, while my mom leaned toward the family behind them, her voice loud enough to carry. We shaved her ourselves, she bragged. Best laugh we've had in years. Their chuckles blended into a cruel chorus, and my heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. When my name was called, I forced my legs to move, each step feeling like 100 pounds. The stage lights burned against my scalp, exposing its sheen to the crowd. Gasps rippled through the audience, followed by laughter not polite, but raw and mocking. My dad's voice cut through the noise, amplified by the microphone as he bellowed, bald like her future. The crowd roared, unaware of the deliberate cruelty behind his words, thinking it was just a tasteless joke. The dean handed me my diploma, his smile strained, his eyes lingering too long on my head. My hands shook as I reached for it, the paper, a tangible symbol of everything I'd fought for. But before I could step away, my dad was there, striding toward the stage with a theatrical flourish. He snatched the diploma from my hands, holding it up like a trophy. You think this piece of paper makes her someone? He jeered to the crowd, then tore it clean in half, the ripping sound echoing through the silent hall. The audience gasped, but he wasn't done. He grabbed the academic excellence trophy I'd been awarded earlier, raised it high, and smashed it against my head. Pain exploded through my skull, and I stumbled, catching myself on the podium as warm blood trickled down my face. My cap fell to the floor, my gown stained red. My mom stood, clapping, her laughter ringing out. Now she knows what she's worth, she shouted. Bleeding and bald, that's her stage. The crowd was a mix of horror and whispers, some students staring in shock, others murmuring like it was a scandal they'd dissect later. My sister grinned, basking in my collapse. I should have crumbled, but as I wiped the blood with my sleeve, something inside me hardened. Their laughter, their cruelty, it wasn't the end. It was fuel. I clutched the torn diploma and broken trophy, vowing that this moment, their stage, would become mine. They thought they'd broken me, but they just handed me the spark to fight back. After the graduation ceremony, I walked away from that stage with blood drying on my face and the torn pieces of my diploma clutched in my hands. The laughter of the crowd, my parents' cruel jeers, and my sister's smug grin lingered like a bitter aftertaste, but something had shifted inside me. I wasn't the broken girl they wanted me to be. Instead, a quiet fire began to burn, one that fueled a plan far bigger than their cruelty. In the weeks that followed, I didn't scream or fight back when my parents taunted me. I didn't react. When my dad tossed the broken shards of my academic trophy at my bedroom door, laughing about how it was the perfect decoration for a failure, my mom would walk by, smirking, muttering, "Still bald, still pathetic," while my sister paraded her pristine graduation gown around the house, draping it over chairs like a trophy of her superiority. They wanted me to explode, to give them another reason to mock me, but I refused to play their game. Instead, I became a shadow in my own home, watching, listening, and documenting every moment of their cruelty. I kept my phone close, its camera and recorder my silent allies. When my dad replayed the video of him smashing the trophy against my head, laughing like it was his favorite sitcom, I stood just out of sight, recording his voice as he bragged about parenting me into submission. "This is how you raise a kid like her," he'd say, chuckling as he showed the clip to my mom, who nodded with a twisted smile. I captured my mom's venomous remarks, her casual insults about my bald head and worthless future, tossed out like they were nothing. My sister wasn't spared either. Her snide comments about my appearance, her mocking whispers about how I'd blinded the graduation crowd, all found their way into my growing collection of evidence. Each file was a brick in the wall I was building, a weapon forged from their own words. It wasn't easy to stay silent. Every taunt, every laugh, every cruel glance felt like a knife twisting in my gut. There were nights when I lay in bed, my scalp still tender, replaying their words and wondering if I'd ever escape their shadow. But I forced myself to stay calm, to channel the pain into purpose. I wasn't just collecting evidence for myself, I was building a case that would expose them to the world they cared so much about impressing. I knew they thrived on their image, their standing in the community, their ability to charm neighbors and relatives with their perfect family facade. That was their weakness, and I was going to use it against them. As the weeks passed, I became meticulous, almost obsessive, in my planning. I backed up every recording to a cloud drive, organized them by date and incident, and replayed them to ensure they were clear. I didn't let anger cloud my judgment. I couldn't afford to. If I confronted them too soon, they'd twist the narrative, paint me as the ungrateful daughter, the dramatic one. No, this had to be perfect. I waited for the right moment, knowing it would come, knowing they'd give me the stage I needed. When my sister landed a small office job, my parents threw a lavish celebration, inviting neighbors, relatives, and even her old teachers to a rented hall decked out with banners proclaiming her the pride of the family. It was the kind of event they lived for, a chance to bask in admiration while subtly reminding everyone of my supposed failures. I knew then that this was my opportunity. I slipped my phone into my pocket, its files ready, and walked into that hall not as their victim, but as the one who would turn their cruelty into their undoing. My silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy, and I was ready to play my hand. The night of my sister's celebration felt like stepping onto a battlefield I'd been preparing for in silence. The rented hall buzzed with neighbors, relatives, and my sister's old teachers all gathered to toast her new job as if she'd conquered the world. My parents stood at the center, basking in the glow of their perfect family image, their smiles wide and practiced. I walked in, my scalp still patchy from regrowth, wearing a simple dress that left me exposed to their predictable whispers. My dad nudged my mom, grinning. "She's really committed to the comedy role," he said, and my mom chuckled. "She should thank us for giving her a personality." Their words didn't sting anymore. I was ready. As the speeches began, my dad took the mic, unable to resist making me the punchline. "Some kids make you proud, others just make you laugh," he said, pointing at me. The crowd roared, my sister, waving like a star. I waited, calm and steady, until the laughter faded. Then I stepped to the mic. The room quieted, expecting a desperate defense or a tearful plea. My parents smirked, my dad already raising his phone to record what he thought would be another humiliating moment. But I didn't beg. I pressed play on my phone, and the speakers erupted with my dad's voice. "Bald like her future," gasps, spread like wildfire. Before anyone could react, my mom's voice followed, cold and venomous. "Now she knows what she's worth." Bleeding and bald, then my sister's sneer. "Careful not to blind the audience with your shiny head." The hall fell silent, the air heavy with shock. I played the final clip, my dad laughing over the video of him smashing my trophy against my head, bragging about his parenting. The crowd's faces shifted from amusement to disgust, their eyes turning to my parents, whose smiles froze like cracked masks. I leaned into the mic, my voice steady. "You wanted everyone to laugh at me. Now they've heard who you really are. Let's see who's laughing now." I walked off, leaving the silence to suffocate them. My mom's panicked mutterings and my dad's desperate shouts followed me, but they were drowned out by the sound of their world unraveling. Neighbors turned away. Relatives avoided their eyes. My sister's fake smile shattered, her victory party now a stage for their shame. That night, they came home not to praise but to whispers and questions, their carefully curated image in ruins. They'd mistaken cruelty for power, but I'd turned their own words into their downfall. For the first time in years, I lay in bed and smiled, not because they were broken, but because I was free. This story isn't just mine, it's for anyone who's been torn down and found the strength to rise. If it resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and join our community. Drop a comment below, share your own story, or let me know where you're watching from. Your voice matters, and together, we can keep shining a light on resilience and truth. Let's keep this conversation going.